What's up? This is Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff, and on today's show, I honestly don't believe how good Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn is, as UNLV picked up another thrilling win in overtime as they beat Nevada. UNLV won a thriller on Saturday, and I've said it a couple of times. Don't ever turn off a UNLV game. This one didn't have quite the same blown lead in the final minutes. UNLV did have, I think it was a 9-point lead at one point in the second half that they did blow. But they continue to play just incredibly entertaining basketball games. UNLV's not that good. They're not the best team. They're not going to the NCAA tournament unless they find a way to win 4 magical games in the Mountain West tournament. But they are incredibly fun. And they're fun because their offense is good. Genuinely, UNLV has a good offense. And defensively, they're bad, right? They're just not a good defensive team. And it leads to some high-scoring games, but also to some wild swings where teams can go on huge runs because UNLV's offense is capable of it, and any offense against UNLV's defense is capable of it. But the biggest reason this team is so fun is Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn. He had 42 points against Nevada on Saturday. That is tied for the 9th most in UNLV history. Albert Miller and Bryce Hamilton are the other 2 guys that have put up 42 in a game for UNLV. A 40-point game is pretty wild in college basketball. Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn has scored 20-plus in 9 straight games. He scored at least 20 in every single game in the month of February. My favorite stat right now is that he made 41 threes in the month of February. In 2 seasons at Illinois, 2 seasons, he made just 33 three-pointers. What he's doing is unbelievable for a couple of reasons. One, he's the best scorer in the Mountain West, to a point where it might be enough to get him into that conversation for Mountain West Player of the Year. He's been incredible offensively. Like, it is insane how he is scoring because he is not doing it. How do I phrase this properly? Because, like, they are running some good plays to help him out here, but he's not doing it just because he's getting a bunch of open shots. He's doing it as the lead ball handler in an offense where literally the only thing any opposing defense cares about is how do we stop Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn? It's the only thing they should care about, right? Because that's what UNLV's offense is based off of, is how good can Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn be? He put up 40 in this game, and he's clearly the number 1 option on every single scouting report. He's hitting threes that are not wide open threes. He's hitting threes where he's on the move. One of the most fun threes he hits is he does it in transition, where he just pulls up from like 5 feet behind the line and shoots and drills it. But he's doing it coming off of screens. He's doing it off the dribble. He's doing it in transition. He's not hitting these catch and shoot spot up threes. And he's doing it, I think he's up to 48 or 49% in Mountain West play from 3, which again is insane because before coming to UNLV at Illinois, I know he wasn't a regular starter, but he played in like 60 plus games. He was shooting under 30% over 2 years at Illinois. It's not like UNLV's got a guy who shot average, right? He was a 35% shooter and he's exploded. Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn was a bad shooter at Illinois, and now he's at 48% in Mountain West play and hitting tough threes, not catch and shoot threes. Like, just, it's wild. And then when he scores inside the arc, he's really good at manipulating defenses to create a little bit of space and find a shot from 5 feet away. Like, it's remarkable how good he is. It's unbelievable how good he is on offense, because I didn't think UNLV had this type of player on the team. I didn't think that was a player that Josh Pastner had brought in, but Josh Pastner's brought in one of the best scorers in the entire country, right? Like, yes, it's against the Mountain West and not the Big 12 or the SEC or the Big 10, whatever. He's still been unbelievable. And he's got a really good chance to average 20 points per game. He's sitting right now at 21 points per game for the full season. Since Jerry Tarkanian, UNLV's only had 3 guys that averaged at least 20 points per game. It was J.R. Ryder, Marcus Banks, and Bryce Hamilton. So he can join that list, a pretty small list since, and it's basically over 30 years now, that have averaged 20 points per game. Of note, none of those teams made the NCAA tournament. This one's probably not either. So, but it's remarkable how good Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn has been. Like, if you haven't watched UNLV play, and like, reasonably so. They don't play in really important games. But there's two things that I would say, yeah, watch any of their games. One, they're almost always close at the end. Whether it's close throughout or whether UNLV blows a lead or whether UNLV has a big comeback, they seem to do this in every single game. And you're going to get to watch a guy who's on one of the best hot streaks in UNLV basketball history. I can't find a way to easily look up like consecutive 20-point games by UNLV players. I can't figure out how to do that besides just brute strength and look at every single box score, which I'm not going to do. But it's got to be one of, if not the longest stretch of 20-plus point games, at least since Tarkanian. It's wild how good he's been. Now, a couple of things from this game, because Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn fouled out in overtime of this game. Up by 1 in the final minute, he fouled out. And we can talk about the foul call like that was about as soft as a foul call as you can have. In overtime, 1-point game, best player on the floor gets fouled out by like some minimal body contact as a guy was driving 15 feet from the basket. Like, that shouldn't have been called. And he fouls out, right? But what it gave us was a scenario that I don't think UNLV, I'm surprised UNLV succeeded in, right? Nevada goes the line down 1, and I can't remember who was shooting, but he makes the first one to tie it. He misses the second. So it's a tie game. The shot clock's off, right? And what does UNLV do? Normally you'd say, well, you should hold for the last shot. The shot clock is off, not UNLV. Howie Fleming gets the rebound. He throws it ahead to Tyron Jones, who's at half court, who just goes straight to the rim and gets a somewhat contested layup. He almost missed it, but a somewhat contested layup to take the lead with about 8 seconds left. Now, generally speaking, that's bad, right? Not the made shot part to take the lead, but taking a shot with about 9 or 10 seconds left when the shot clock is off is generally bad. Because if Tyron Jones misses that, Nevada gets a defensive rebound. Now they can hold for the last shot. You could have held for the last shot and guaranteed win or overtime. Now you're giving your opponent that opportunity where your best case scenario is overtime. So I don't think it was the smartest thing that UNLV did, but they didn't have Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn. If they had Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn, I wonder if they play that differently. But without him, I don't know how harsh I can be, because without Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn, how the hell does UNLV score? Their best bet is probably in transition, and it's probably Tyron Jones in transition. So while generally speaking, it's still probably a bad idea to shoot with 9 or 10 seconds left, to get Tyron Jones attacking the rim in transition is probably as good of a shot as they were going to get. Pastner said after the game that had Nevada taken the lead, if they had made the second free throw to go up by 1, he would have called a timeout to set up a play. But off of the miss, he wanted them to push and just go to the rim. And that's what they did. Also interesting from this game, Josh Pastner played a really short bench. We did not see Emmanuel Stephan in this game. Jacob Benarby was the only true center they played, and when he was on the bench or when he fouled out, they played without a center. Al Green did not play until those final seconds when Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn fouled out of the game, and Isaac Williamson played less than 10 minutes. Right? It was basically a 6-man rotation for this game. Pastner afterwards kind of said, yeah, it won't be like that all the time, but that's what he felt like was going to work in this game. Maybe it will be what they do the rest of the way. Emmanuel Stephan has not rewarded Pastner with any good plays when he has been in the game over the last month or so. So it wouldn't be surprising to see no Emmanuel Stephan. Al Green doesn't bring you a whole lot, but can you, on a team that fouls this much, can you rely on Kamani Hamilton and all these guys to play 35 plus minutes without fouling out? We'll see. Also wanted to touch on Josh Pastner's challenge. So he challenged a goaltend call with 11:07 left in the first half, and he lost the challenge. It was a very close call. He lost the challenge, though. And then in the final 5 seconds of regulation, we have a tie game and the ball goes out of bounds and the refs give it to Nevada. And Pastner could not challenge because he lost his challenge 9 minutes into the game. Now, Nevada turned the ball over, so they could have won the game after that. Nevada turned the ball over, so it ended up not mattering. But this is why I've yelled so much about saving your challenges for an important moment. UNLV could have gotten the ball back in a tie game with 5 seconds to go if Pastner had saved his challenge, if he had not wasted it on a goaltending call 9 minutes into the game. The win probability change in that goaltending call is going to be about 1 or 2%. The win probability change in who has possession with 5 seconds to go in a tie game is probably like 20 to 30%, right? Like that's the difference in why you save your challenges for the end of game scenarios, even if they don't come often. That's why you save it, and UNLV almost got burnt because of it. Right? There's a part of me that wishes UNLV would have lost on that final 5 seconds so that I could have just ripped the hell out of this, because that's the exact scenario as to why you don't blow your challenge 9 minutes into the game. I also have a question, and this is for other teams. Why on earth are they not fouling Tyron Jones on every possession in the final minutes of a close game? Tyron Jones is shooting 48% from the free throw line this year. Nevada accidentally fouled him when they were down by 1 in overtime. And Tyron Jones missed both free throws. So Nevada got the ball a chance to take the lead. That was what preceded the Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn foul out, and then the one free throw that tied the game. But like, other teams are being presented with an opportunity to foul one of the worst free throw shooters in the conference, probably in the country. Right? And he's going to be on the floor because he's one of UNLV's most important players, and Josh Pastner doesn't want to play Emmanuel Steffen or Al Green, and maybe not Isaac Williamson either. So he's going to be on the floor. You should be fouling him every single possession. If you're in a close game in the final 2 minutes, especially if you're losing to UNLV in the final 2 minutes, foul Tyron Jones every time UNLV gets the ball. What would you rather have if you were an opponent? Tyron Jones shooting 2 free throws, or Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn getting to do whatever he does? Because the answer is pretty clear. It's Tyron Jones. So I don't understand why that's not happening as much as it probably should be happening. I know that's been like an NBA thing in the past and not as much a college basketball thing, but that should be what's happening to UNLV. One of the guys they can't take off the floor cannot make half of his free throws. You should be fouling him, especially like if you're losing and UNLV's in the 1-1. Oh, you got to foul Tyron Jones. There's a 50% chance he doesn't even get the second free throw. So that's sort of a strategical thing that I'm kind of curious to see. Also, to point this out because it's a lot of fun, I wrote at my Patreon a couple of weeks ago about a play that UNLV has run a lot this year. You should go read my Patreon to read more about this play. But UNLV ran it over and over against Nevada, and they ran it specifically at the very end of regulation when they were down 3, and it got Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn an open three-pointer. The gist of the play is that Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn goes down and sets a screen along the baseline for Tyron Jones, and then he pops back up off of another screen to the wing to catch for an open 3, and it forces defenses, okay, well, we can't give Tyron Jones a free path to the basket, so we've got to help there, but then how do we defend this screen that Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn is coming off of immediately after? Boise State, they lost the game, but Boise State in overtime finally figured it out, and they just switched. They just switched their center onto Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn on the three-point line. Just don't even let him catch the pass. But Nevada didn't do that. And Nevada got burned by it multiple times in this game, including in the biggest moment. Now, to be fair and to give credit to Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, he was not wide open on the game-tying 3. This was not like, oh, Josh Pastner drew up a play and he had a guy just waiting to catch and shoot a wide-open 3. Like, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn was moving, had to move a little bit more. And, like, it wasn't like, oh, my God, they defended this so poorly. It's just you have to go through a screen, and so you're one step behind, and that's what Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn needed to knock down that shot. Like, it's a good play, but it can also be defended better. And Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn just making everything he throws up right now makes all plays look pretty good, which, by the way, this is sort of a curious thing to look at if we're looking at the future. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn has been so good this year, so much better than he was at Illinois. If we're evaluating the season, how much credit do we give Josh Pastner for that? Because that's clearly a win. That's clearly a talent identification or a player development or maybe just talent enhancement, however you want to view it, win for the coaching staff, right? Like, they found a player from a power conference that was not getting much playing time, and he's now one of the best players in the Mountain West. That's what they're going to have to do every single offseason. So how much credit does Pastner get for that? Because Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn is doing something he did not do before in his career. He's doing something that I don't think anybody thought he could do. I think if you got a truthful answer out of Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn or Josh Pastner, they would say, we never thought it would be this good, right? So how much credit does Pastner get for that? Like, should we say, oh, he could do that again next offseason? If so, that's great news for UNLV. The other part of it, though, is Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn going to be back next year? Probably not. Like, if you had asked me 3 or 4 weeks ago, I would have said, yeah, I bet a power conference team, pays up for Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn to get him to transfer in, but it's probably a bad idea because, like, he wasn't that productive in a power conference. He has a good stretch in the Mountain West. Are you really expecting that to translate? But the fact that he's continued to do this for more than a month now, it's insane. And so he's going to get a massive payday. Like, it's not going to be surprising if Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn is like one of the top 10 names in the transfer portal because of what he's doing offensively. There's obviously some defensive problems, right? Like, UNLV is a bad defensive team. Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn is a part of that. He is a smaller guard. You're not going to ask him to defend at a really high level, or really high level players, right? So there's obviously some limitations there. Like, Houston's probably not going after Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn, but he's probably going to be one of the most sought after guards in the transfer portal, one of the most sought after players, period, in the transfer portal. I don't know anything, but I'm just saying logically, it would be surprising if he's back at UNLV next season. But that might be step one of the entire offseason for Pastner. Can he get Dra Gibbs-Lawhorn to stay? If he does, it's a major win for UNLV. Now, a couple other things from this game. First off, for those of you that saw it on Twitter, we have a new contender for worst apparel for a UNLV Nevada sporting event. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that before COVID, long time ago, Steve Sisolak was the governor of Nevada. He went to a UNLV Nevada basketball game and he wore a hat. And that hat had the Nevada Wolfpack logo and the UNLV logo both on the front of it. It was I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm the governor of the state. I don't want to piss anybody off. So I'm just going to wear a hat with both teams' logos. And if you're an actual sports fan, you know that actually pisses everybody off. Nobody likes that. So in an effort to not anger anybody, Sisolak actually angered everybody because every UNLV fan would rather you show up in a shirt that says fuck UNLV than one that has both logos on it. And same for Nevada fans. That's just how fandom works. You do not want people that are like, I'm just here hoping everybody has fun, especially in a rivalry game. The new entrants, this is from my brother-in-law and his girlfriend. They wore sweatshirts that they made themselves that said Nevada across the front, but half of it was blue and white and half of it was red and gray, right? It was half UNLV colors, half Nevada colors, and it's so they could sit on the fence. And it is as bad as the Steve Sisolak hat, right? The only credit they get 2 points of credit. One, they made it themselves. I don't think Steve Sisolak was hand stitching that hat himself. And two, they both graduated from Nevada and they're now both in law school at UNLV. So that's like maybe the only reason you're allowed to sit on the fence, but pick a team. Pick a team. Cheer for one of them. You don't get to cheer for both. It's a rivalry, right? If this was like, I went to Nevada, but I did law school like at Duke. Okay, yes, you can find a way to cheer for both. And if they play each other, it's going to happen like once every 20 years or something. Like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But UNLV and Nevada, no, you got to pick one. You got to pick one of those schools. You can't cheer for both of them. That's against the rules. Also, student section was good and bad. Student section was good in that it was full. I mean, as full as it has been this entire year. And all the sections that the students are allowed to come sit at for free, it was probably, 85% full, all of those seats. So that's a good thing, that there are students that did show up to a UNLV game. They do get dinged because basically none of them were standing and cheering. Like, there were some down there in the very front row that were standing and cheering for a large portion of the game, but for the most part, the student sections were just sitting down and sort of enjoying the game as if like, oh, cool, basketball's on. They showed up. That's better than most games, better than pretty much every game this year. There are probably more students at this game than there have been at all the other games combined, but we also didn't see any of the cheering, which is kind of the whole point of a student section, is you cheer and make it difficult for the other team to play. And the last thing for you, where's Dan Mullen? UNLV's playing Nevada. Josh Pastner is out on campus desperately begging for students to come to the game. Pastner, in like 50% of his press conferences this year, has brought up his desire to have a better crowd at Thomas and Mack. He goes on and on and on about it, right? The UNLV football team, like 10, 15 of them, were on the court before the game throwing T-shirts into the crowd to get the team excited, right? Where was Dan Mullen? If you could get one person that would get the crowd excited, one person that would make people stand up and cheer, it would be Dan Mullen. And he wasn't there. Come on. It's an easy win for UNLV. Bring Dan Mullen. So maybe he was at the game and they just didn't put him on camera or put him at midcourt. I don't know. But he should have been out there at the start of the game or halftime or the last media timeout because it was a close game. Should have had Dan Mullen out there. So UNLV beat Nevada. Always watch UNLV play. Don't turn it off. They're a lot of fun. Now, last thing on the show today, because I haven't done a show in a while, and I put up on my Patreon a little bit of an explanation. So if you subscribe to my Patreon, you've heard some of this. If not, I haven't had a show in about a week because I got a new job. And I'm very excited about this. It's going to be a fun opportunity. Give it some time in the next couple of weeks. I'll have an announcement as to exactly what that job is. I'm hoping a lot of you will follow me over to where this is going to be. But I've got a new job. And what that means for Technically Correct, I don't exactly know yet. Really, over the next month or two, I'm going to have to figure out time management. How much time do I think I have between what my new job is going to be and potentially doing this? In my head, I would love to be able to keep doing Technically Correct once a week. Maybe I can do it more than that, but I'd love to be able to keep doing this in some fashion. So we'll see what that looks like going forward. But I'm excited for my new job. It's great. It's a good thing. And yeah, we'll see what Technically Correct actually looks like going forward. I will have some more shows. I will give you some more updates. Hopefully I don't just disappear and you're wondering where the hell I went. But this will probably be the only show I do this week, right? And I'm kind of looking at maybe once a week until I figure out time management and how all of that will work over the next couple of months. But stay tuned. I'll let you know where I'm going in the very near future. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff.